Hey there, Alex here. When Samsung releases new flagship devices, it always gets a lot of attention. They are the most popular Android smartphone manufacturer in the market after all. For the most part, I think they deserve it, because they have been pretty consistent at pushing out great devices over the past few years. Even the Note 7 was a pretty amazing phone if you put aside the battery issues. So, the Galaxy S9, how is it? Let's start with how it looks. There isn't really much difference here from the beautifully crafted Galaxy S8. It's still a stunning looking curved glass and metal sandwich. There are some minor tweaks to the overall design, like the speaker grille at the bottom or a matte finishing for the frame, but the most important of them all is the position of the fingerprint sensor. It is now in a position that is a lot more accessible. Of course, you could still use other biometric unlocking methods like iris scanner or face unlock, but those tend to be a little more cumbersome to use and a little slower, so even though the iris scanner provides more security, I tend to just stick to the fingerprint sensor. Once you unlock the phone, you're greeted by pretty much the best display on a smartphone to date in typical Samsung fashion. It's bright, it's colorful, and it just looks amazing. Samsung's 18.5 by 9 display with minimal bezels still looks fantastic no matter whether you're multitasking or just watching a video. My favorite feature on the Galaxy S8, which is the pressure-sensitive home button, is still here, making it really convenient to exit out of full-screen apps. I was actually hoping that they would expand this functionality to the back and recent apps buttons so I can eke out even more screen real estate. I was also hoping that we would see the fingerprint sensor integrated underneath the screen with that pressure-sensitive home button, but well, maybe next time. In terms of specifications, the biggest change over the Galaxy S8 is the processor. Other than that, and a bit more RAM for the S9 Plus, the battery capacity is exactly the same. In my time with it, the battery life seems about the same too, so it's decent but not great. With heavier use, I find myself needing a quick top-up to get me through the day. These days, you can pretty much expect great performance from all the modern high-end chipsets, so I would say the more important thing is actually software optimizations. In my time with the Galaxy S9, it has been pretty good. It's still not at the level of smoothness and fluidity compared to the Google Pixel 2, but the speed and responsiveness is definitely there. Samsung has gotten to a point where they are actually pretty good at customizing their software. Even though I am a fan of the Pixel experience, I can still appreciate what Samsung has done here. The UI design is cohesive throughout the software and works well enough with Google's design language. It's also packed with tons of useful features like multitasking groupings to quickly launch 2 apps at the same time, always on display for quick glanceable notifications, running 2 instances of some messaging apps, or just taking a long screenshot. And when you do take a screenshot of a web page, the Gallery app even shows a button that links you back to the web page, which is a really convenient feature. Bixby got a few upgrades too, and can now translate text in real time amongst other things. I think Bixby is getting better for sure, and it can be useful at times if you give it a chance, but to me, it still sort of clashes with some of Google's own services, which is often smarter since it has way more data that it can leverage on. There are still tons of other software features here that would just take forever to go through, but the bottom line for me is that when it comes down to the basics, it's really good. Not everyone will love Samsung's user experience, but it's not as intrusive as it was years ago. In fact, it's probably one of the best heavily customized version of Android out there. So kudos to Samsung here. Now, they just need to get a whole lot better at keeping their devices updated. Before we move on to the headlining feature, there are a couple of other notable hardware improvements. First of all, the call speaker now works in tandem with the main speaker at the bottom to create a more immersive audio experience. They're tuned by AKG and supports Dolby Atmos surround sound. They're not the loudest around, but they do sound really good and makes everything from gaming to watching movies more enjoyable. Another low-key improvement, which I'm personally rather interested in, is the improved optical sensor. It's supposed to be able to read blood pressure levels, which I was really hoping to try out. Unfortunately, the app that was mentioned seems to be for US only, and the Samsung Health app doesn't have that feature yet. Hopefully, this feature will be made available soon. The big focus for Samsung this year is definitely the camera. Most smartphones these days uses fixed apertures, like f1.8 on the Google Pixel 2 or f1.6 on the LG V30. The main camera on the Galaxy S9 has a variable aperture of either f1.5 or f2.4. It's really impressive that Samsung was able to fit in this mechanism into a phone this thin. But how well does it work? On paper, it sounds like a great solution. The f2.4 aperture should be able to capture sharper images in daylight, and that f1.5 aperture should be able to capture brighter images in low light. In practice though, the advantage of an f2.4 aperture isn't always obvious. Sure, sometimes I do see sharper details, but only if I look really closely. For the f1.5 aperture, I do see a noticeable improvement in low light shots, making the Galaxy S9 one of the best cameras in low light. But that said, the results are not drastically better than the Pixel 2 with Google's image processing magic. Don't get me wrong, the images taken by the Galaxy S9 definitely looks impressive, but I'm just not entirely sure whether the added complexities to the camera are worth it. However, the Galaxy S9 Plus does have an additional telephoto lens for better zoom performance, and a live focus mode for those glorious portrait shots. While the Pixel 2 is able to do a somewhat decent job with portrait mode if the background isn't too complicated, there is only so much you can achieve with just software. Furthermore, the Galaxy S9 supports 960 frames per second slow motion capture. It stretches approximately 0.2 seconds of recording into 6 seconds of playback. Now, this isn't a new feature by any means, but unlike Sony's implementation, the Galaxy S9 offers motion detection trigger, which makes capturing the moment a little easier. While the super slow motion mode is limited to 720p and requires really good lighting, it doesn't make it any less impressive that I'm able to record this type of footage on a phone. For the front camera, which is important to a lot of folks, it's pretty much the same camera as the Galaxy S8. It still has that processed look to the images which I'm not a huge fan of, even with all the beauty mode turned off. You also get a portrait mode for the front camera. However, this time round, the Pixel 2 has the upper hand with much better edge detection. In case you guys are wondering why I keep comparing it to the Pixel 2, it's because I think the Pixel 2 has the best camera around. So with Samsung placing so much emphasis on the Galaxy S9's cameras, it's only natural to compare it with the best. So in conclusion, the Galaxy S9 has a tremendously good camera. It performs well in pretty much all situations. But personally, I still prefer the Pixel 2's camera experience most of the time because of its image processing, insane dynamic range, and better front camera. But of course, if those additional features and controls on the Galaxy S9 are something you want, then the Galaxy S9 will be the better option. Ultimately, they're both really good, and it's really just down to personal preference. And no, I did not forget about AR emoji mode that turns people into an animated emoji. I just think it's pointless. There is no doubt that the Galaxy S9 is a really good phone. In fact, I'll even call it one of the best phones that money can buy right now. Other than the improvements that I've mentioned, you still get IP68 water and dust resistance, a headphone jack, support for microSD card or dual SIM, wireless charging, a bevy of accessories that you can connect the phone to, and it even comes with a case inside the box. While it doesn't really break any new grounds here, it's a refinement over the Galaxy S8, which was already very good. It's just such a well-rounded package. That said, if you're coming from the Galaxy S8 or Note 8, it's probably not worth upgrading. Or if you value software experience above all else like me, the Google Pixel 2 will still be my top recommendation. For everyone else looking to upgrade, it's hard to go wrong with the Galaxy S9. Thanks for watching my review of the Galaxy S9. If you have enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe. Also, feel free to leave a comment below to share with us what you think about the phone too. Thanks, and see you guys on the next one.